In this video, we're going to be talking about the new iPhone XS and iPhone XS Max. Everything that you need to know. Okay, so this year was a pretty incremental update in terms of the iPhone XS. Now, this isn't entirely surprising. iPhone XS, it's going to be an S update, so the design looks pretty much exactly the same. Although, interestingly enough, they did do an iPhone 5S with the color scheme. In addition to the black and white, or the space gray and silver, there's now a new gold option introduced on both the XS and on the XS Max. I keep wanting to say XS Plus, but they chose Max. I really don't like it. And speaking of the XS Max, the XS Max, this device is actually very, very interesting. It's a new size for this year, and it actually retains the same form factor as the plus size iPhone. So anything from a 6 Plus to an 8 Plus, it's going to be exactly the same footprint, give or take. But the difference is, instead of a 5.5 inch screen, we're bumped up to a 6.5 inch screen. Now this is all possible, of course, because of that edge-to-edge screen on the front of that device. So let's go through the list of the new features on the XS and XS Max, starting with water resistant. Both of these things are IP68 waterproof. That means that you can drop them in a pool, you can spill beer on them, you can drop them in orange juice, you can throw them in the ocean. They'll be fine, hopefully. Now the displays on both the XS and XS Plus Max are a little bit better than they were on the 10 last year. There's 60% wider dynamic range of colors, as well as better HDR10 support. However, both of these devices still use the Super Retina OLED display with a pixel density of 458 ppi, which is respectable. So unlike the iPhone XR, these devices keep 3D touch, and they also have better stereo sound out of the speakers. But the real story is in the upgraded processor that powers these two phones. So as you might expect with a yearly upgrade, there's a new Apple A-designed chip. This year it's the A12 Bionic. Now what's particularly interesting is this is actually a 7nm chip. Now this is one of the first 7nm chips to hit the market, and it offers a 6-core design with about 15% better performance than the A11 last year. So it's not quite as big a jump as the A11 was from the A10, but it's still a very respectable processor. However, there is a much more significant bump in GPU performance, because we now have 4 processor cores for the GPU, which deliver about 50% improved performance. Additionally, the neural engine that was introduced last year to assist with Face ID and many AR-related things has also been updated quite significantly. So the new neural engine can process about 5 trillion operations per second compared to last year's 600 billion, which is just, it's just pathetic. I can't even imagine less than 1 trillion operations per second. That's just pedestrian. So interestingly enough, a lot of these improvements help with the improvements that were introduced to the camera. Now, a lot of people use the iPhones for their photography skills, and this one is no different. So in the iPhone XS and XS Max, both of them are going to feature dual camera systems. There's going to be a 12 megapixel wide angle and a 12 megapixel zoom lens with quad LED True Tone flash. However, now the True Depth 7 megapixel front-facing camera connects the image signal processor with the neural engine and can produce facial landmarking and segmentation in portrait mode. So this basically allows for the selfie mode, portrait mode to be a lot more smooth and clear. Additionally, the new cameras feature Smart HDR. Basically, the neural engine assists with this feature, and it allows the camera to create a 4-frame buffer every time you try to take a picture. So whenever you have the camera app open, it's going to be analyzing all different types of exposure levels in this photograph. So when you hit the shutter button, it's going to use the image signal processor and the neural engine to combine a variety of different exposures and contrast levels to create the most detailed HDR photo it can find. So one of the other things that this allows that I think is super cool is in portrait mode you can actually adjust the depth of field after the fact. So using the different facial recognition and landmarking technologies, you can basically adjust the bokeh on the background and change the depth of field after you've taken a photo. This is really, really, really cool. And finally, one of the things that they announced for the XS was this new dual SIM, dual standby system. DSDS is what they call it. So basically you can run 2 SIMs in this device. One of those is going to be a physical SIM card, and one of those is an eSIM, which needs to be picked up by carriers before it can really be used. But it allows you to have 2 active phone numbers on your phone. And the pricing for these devices is eye-watering. The iPhone XS starts at $999 for 64 gigabytes, and that can jump up to 256 and then 512 gigabytes, where the iPhone XS Max bumps up $100 over that, starting at $1099 for the same storage tiers. Yeah, it's a pretty hefty price that you're going to pay for these devices. Now, personally, I am a little bit peeved about the fact that we go from 64 gigabytes to 256. I don't get that. I mean, I have a 128 gigabyte iPhone 7 Plus, and that's like the perfect amount of storage, because 64 is a little on the small side if you got a lot of photos, but there's no way I would ever need 256 gigabytes on my phone. I mean, that's the same starting storage as a MacBook Pro. That's ridiculous. But anyway, those are what I think are the most important things about these new iPhone XS's. So let me know down in the comments below what you think is the most interesting new feature of the iPhone XS or XS Max. And of course, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Luke Miani. Don't forget to join my subreddit. The link is in the description below. And also make sure you check out my other videos on the Apple Watch Series 4 and the iPhone XR that were announced today as well. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.